All right. What is going on, YouTube family? How y'all doing today? Welcome to CashSports / Cash Media. Glad to be back with you guys yet again to talk some more sports topics, debates, whatever. But today, in particular, we are going to talk about this Lamar Jackson contract situation because Lamar Jackson's in a bit of a turmoil, in my opinion, right? There's been some back and forth for at least, a couple years now, going back and forth from Lamar Jackson's end to the Baltimore Ravens. These two teams could not agree on a deal for some reason, right? And this has been going on for the better part of at least, for the past 3 years since Lamar Jackson had won, his MVP in 2018. So it's quite shocking that Lamar Jackson just isn't able to come to an agreement with the Baltimore Ravens. And it's not just on all him, right? It's definitely a part on the Baltimore Ravens. What's up, Al Money? How you doing today, bro? Glad you can tap in, man. Of course, I always appreciate you tapping in, for sure. Thank you for showing the love, bro. But as you can see, man, I'm talking some NFL right now, right? And I want to get into this particular topic because Lamar Jackson got screwed. Lamar Jackson got screwed, bro. There's no other way about it. He got straight up disrespected. The Baltimore Ravens basically, in a contract dispute, right, or at least in a business setting, they slapped the hell out of Lamar Jackson with whatever deal that they gave him. And I have the numbers. I have the numbers to prove it. I mean, shit, you can see it right there. So, to get straight to the point, Lamar Jackson was offered a $133 guaranteed $1 million contract. So let me rephrase that again. Lamar Jackson was offered $133 million guaranteed in their offer from the Baltimore Ravens. Yes. And I know some of you guys are probably thinking like, $133 million? I'll take $133 million. Why can't he just take that money? Well, I'm going to put it to you like this, because we're going to make some comparisons. But even then, right? Because we had seen some headlines before that Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens were just at least $100 million apart when it came to coming to an agreement, right? And then so, as you can see, the previous offer was $113 million. Right, but if you guys keep up with the NFL, if you guys are familiar on the business side of the NFL, you can tell that you would know that this is lowballing, to the literal sense, right? They went from $113 million, and then they had to be talked up to $133 million. Now, I'm going to scroll this down, and you're going to see some of the other guarantees that are offered around other quarterbacks around the league, right? So Kyler Murray was offered, Kyler Murray has $189.5 million guaranteed. Russell Wilson, right, had a horrible year last year, $161 million guaranteed. Aaron Rodgers, $150.8 million guaranteed. Josh Allen, $150 guaranteed. Patrick Mahomes, $141.4 guaranteed. And Matt Stafford, $130 million guaranteed. Right, so you guys are looking at the numbers there, man, and obviously, Lamar Jackson, Lamar Jackson obviously isn't some of those quarterbacks that we see up there with the guarantees, right? Like, I don't think he deserves more guaranteed money than Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and then even to an extent, Aaron Rodgers. But, as far as it pertains to Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, I mean, I know Matthew Stafford had won a Super Bowl, but I mean, that doesn't compare to what he's played with during that Super Bowl year, right? The Los Angeles Rams were freaking stacked. They had a squad. You had Aaron Donald on the other side of the field, as one of the best defensive linemen in the game. Jalen Ramsey, right? One of the best corners in the game. Cooper Rush, who had a triple crown, right? He had a triple crown the year that they won the Super Bowl, even becoming Super Bowl MVP, right? The year afterwards, after, last year, or the year that just concluded, right? That's all he was doing, was throwing to Cooper Kupp, right? So clearly, Matthew Stafford had something to work with. But in Lamar Jackson's case, it's completely different. We're dealing with a situation where the Ravens ultimately wrap their whole offense around Lamar Jackson's play, around his legs, around his playmaking ability, right? This Ravens offense relies heavily on Lamar Jackson, right? And I don't think a lot of people can disagree with that, in all honesty, if we had to keep it a buck. Now, I do understand, the blowback between, the Baltimore Ravens, and kind of being a little bit timid to give Lamar Jackson a fully guaranteed contract, right? I mean, because I think what he's going for, he's trying to make the comparison between his contract and Deshaun Watson's. He wants Deshaun Watson money, or so that's the headline that's been out there for the better part of the year, right? Deshaun Watson clearly got a fully guaranteed contract, $230 million from the Cleveland Browns. And Lamar Jackson has every reason, every excuse to at least request that sort of money from the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, just based off the things he's done, based off the things, that he's accomplished during his tenure with the Baltimore Ravens. He deserves to at least go into a business setting and request the money, right? That he wants, especially if it's trying to match the market. Now, 133 million, I mean, we just looked at the numbers, is clearly below the line, right? You would think 133 million, you would have Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, in the higher spectrum of guaranteed money. But Kyler Murray has more guaranteed money than every single one of these guys, right? And Kyler Murray, we already know last year there was a dispute, going on with Kyler Murray's contract for him, on the timing of him to receive his contract, right? He was willing, there were Instagram posts, there were social media posts on Kyler Murray's end, willing to take it, to some form of length to discuss his contract. Now, the Cardinals, on their end, to cover up their ass, they wanted to try to sneak in, Kyler Murray having a little bit of study time after practice, and then that was put in his contract. Foolishly enough, Kyler Murray was, he signed the contract like that. You got to dispute something like that. That's why you don't sign anything you don't read, right? Let me say that again for you guys out there. You do not sign anything you do not read, right? And so in Lamar Jackson's case, right, he's showed up. He showed out. You can make a very good argument with Lamar Jackson's career compared to Kyler Murray, right? Now, I know Lamar Jackson only has one playoff win in his career, but the guy is still young. He was still on his rookie contract, right? And doing the things that he was able to do, like winning MVP, like I stated before, right? So my thing about it is, Lamar Jackson has to get the hell up out of there. He needs to get traded, right? Because that is just downright unacceptable. It's disrespectful. And that just goes to show how much the Ravens front office really feels and how they really look at Lamar Jackson. Now, we don't know what's going on behind closed doors, right? We know that Lamar Jackson represents himself. We know that he has his mother at his side. God bless them both. Hope that they get what they want and need. Because if this is the situation that's been coming out, if this is the money that they offered Lamar Jackson, right, 133 million, that's just not going to do. That's not going to work out. Plain and simple, to keep it honest, right? Lamar Jackson, and I know I've said some things in the past. I know I've been against Lamar Jackson being, getting a fully guaranteed contract, because with the Deshaun Watson situation, him getting that 230 million fully guaranteed, that's an outlier, right? That's never happened before in the NFL. And we all know the Cleveland Browns are desperate as hell. I mean, we're talking about a franchise that hasn't had a franchise QB in God knows how long. At least in my lifespan, I haven't seen the Cleveland Browns have a franchise QB from Baker Mayfield and onward. They've switched from QB to QB, right? Even going back to the Cleveland Browns drafting Johnny Manziel, which was a complete and utter failure, right? So the Cleveland Browns were desperate. They were desperate enough to give Deshaun Watson, especially with the things that he was going through and that was tied to his name at that given moment. All right, but they were willing to dish out that sort of money to guarantee their future star quarterback, right? And I feel like the Ravens, need to be in the same ballpark here. Now, they don't have to be desperate because this is still a first-class organization. But at the end of the day, bro, pay the guy. At least meet halfway, compromise. There is no reason why Lamar Jackson should get anything less than $190 million guaranteed. I would even go as far as to say $200 million guaranteed. But that's entirely depends on the Ravens organization. Why can't Lamar Jackson get more guaranteed money than Kyler Murray? Right? Are they trying to compare their situation to Kyler Murray? Right? Why can't he get more than Russell Wilson? He definitely deserves that in recent memory. So, what's the deal here? And then we know, go now. If I were to side with the Ravens here on it, I mean, we understand the situation with the NFL. It's an NFL it's a hard cap league, so you can't necessarily go over the salary cap, right? You have to be willing. Now, if the story that circulated around these, the Ravens team for quite some time was getting Lamar Jackson the help that he wanted, the help that he needs, right? And a part of that is getting the receivers he needs. What receivers are they playing with? Is he playing with? He is the running game. The only number one option for the Ravens has been their tight end and Mark Andrews. Right? So, and that just goes back to what I've been saying earlier in stating that Lamar Jackson does literally so much for this Ravens offense. They've literally won 40 games with him starting at the quarterback position. So clearly, he's getting some good results and he deserves to get paid. So that's my thoughts, man. That's just me being honest. I don't think a lot of people would disagree with that. I wholeheartedly believe that $133 million is disrespectful in this situation. Lamar Jackson deserves no less than $190 million guaranteed. Now, let's switch it up here a bit because we see this situation going completely south. We don't know what's going to happen with Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. But you know what? Let's switch it up here a bit and let's check out the potential teams that Lamar could sign with or could be traded to if things still seem to fall through. All right, so number one, apparently Sports Nation is saying the number one team that Lamar Jackson could go to is the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons have become a very hot name of potential Jackson trade talks in recent weeks, and it makes a ton of sense. Sure, the team took Desmond Ridder in the third round of the 2022 draft, but even you like Ridder's game and think he has potential. There's chasm. Sorry, I'm not great here. Between trying to develop him and acquiring one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the game. Atlanta represents a really soft landing spot for Jackson. He joins a team that already has a top tight end in Kyle Pitts, a body promising receiver in Drake London. Hell, the weapons on the offense for the Falcons already exceed what he had in Baltimore. That's for sure. Coupled with a city with a lasting love story with running with running quarterbacks from the team's time with Michael Vick, and you have a fan base primed to swoon over Jackson's ability. The NFC South is wide open for Tom Brady's retirement, with all 4 teams in some form of rebuilding. Landing Jackson immediately catapults Atlanta to the top of the division and starts getting the team wins now. Keep in mind, they weren't terrible in 2022 either, so there's a lot of promise here. Meanwhile, for the Baltimore Ravens, the appeal would be obvious. The Ravens hold the number 8 pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, importantly positioned immediately before the Panthers, who are a lock to take a quarterback this April. Should the Ravens like one of the rookie QBs, they would be in position to take one of the top 4 passers and still have draft capital left over. It would take Atlanta's first this year and likely in 2024, as well as some mid-round picks to get the deal done, giving Baltimore a lot of flexibility in the future. Now, number 2 is the Baltimore Ravens. The grass isn't always greener. While Atlanta might represent the best landing spot for both sides, should they part ways, the next best scenario is the Ravens to wake up and realize what they have. The Eagles came within 3 points of winning a Super Bowl with a dual threat quarterback because they supported him, right? Key words. Jackson has continued to watch his weapons dissolve around him without the shelves being restocked, while Jalen Hurts had A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith this season to make his life better. Jackson's top 2 wide receivers were Demarcus Robinson and Duvernay, neither of whom had 500 yards receiving. Every available asset needs to be spent upgrading the weapons on offense, and if that happens, this team will win a lot. Jackson may be asking for a lot in salary, but Pandora's box isn't getting shut on quarterback contracts. Huge QB money is a sunk cost that every team has to factor in now, and with the salary cap soaring, it lessens the impact of a big deal. Number 3 now is nobody loves big splashy moves like the Raiders, and now they need a quarterback. Much like Atlanta, the number 7th pick is of considerable value, and Vegas underperforming in 2022 could lead to the landing the best quarterback the team has had in a long time. Jackson has to have Josh McDaniels' offense sensibilities salivating. Nobody thinks they could do more with Jackson than McDaniel does. Whether or not that's accurate remains to be seen. That said, there's more than just blind promise to the Raiders' move. Devontae Adams and Darren Waller are 2 great targets for him. Vegas also gives huge marketability potential for Jackson, and that's an increasing part of the puzzle to landing a top quarterback as well. Right? Number 4, New York Jets. The primary issue with the Jets is compensation. The number 13 pick isn't terrible, but it's a big step back from getting one in the top 10. That said, no team is better primed to win immediately with a top quarterback than New York. The team already has an elite defense capable of stopping anyone in the NFL. Their receivers are markedly better than a few years back, and with Bryce Hall returning from injury, their running back position is locked. Jackson likely catapults this team from fighting for a wild card spot to challenging the Bills and Dolphins atop of the AFC East. That's powerful motivation to get a deal done, and New York has so many quality defensive players. There's an opportunity the Ravens could get a player back in a deal as well. Number 5 now is the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are in a really weird spot right now. Ryan Tannehill is definitely not the future, and developing Malik Willis seems like a bigger project than the team is ready to tackle right now. As it stands, there are so many ways this team feels ready to compete, and yet they're drifting back in the AFC South and fell below the surging Jacksonville Jaguars in 2022. If we're to resume the team still believes it can compete, then Jackson is a step to remaining relevant. Still, this feels very much like an outside chance, likely because it would be a bad move for Jackson, complicating accepting a contract extension, and the Titans at number 11 doesn't offer the draft capital the Ravens would want. Right, so there you have it, man. Those are the 5 teams that Sports Nation recommends, that makes a move for Lamar Jackson, right? And so my team that I would say is the best fit for Lamar Jackson, or at least I would give 3 out of those teams. I would take 3 out of those teams. Is, for one, the Atlanta Falcons, right? They were a decent enough team last year. Obviously, they didn't make the playoffs, but I mean, they had Marcus Mariota at quarterback. I mean, he didn't have a fantastic year, but he didn't have a horrible year. But clearly, they can go in a different direction. They're looking for a franchise guy after letting go of Matt Ryan, and Lamar Jackson would definitely fit that curve. They brought up guys like Drake London, who came up, who shined, last year, and also Kyle Pitts, who has been yearning, to get the ball thrown to him more often. We already know Lamar Jackson utilizes his tight ends, so Kyle Pitts would certainly thrive, having Lamar Jackson at the quarterback position in Atlanta. And they're dead spot on to say that Atlanta would definitely appreciate Lamar Jackson's abilities down there, because they're familiar with Michael Vick. Right. Next team, I mean, clearly the Ravens would be one of the best teams also, right? I think, with Baltimore, I mean, that's the situation he's been in. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The only thing that's broken is Lamar Jackson's body, no disrespect. I'm just relating to Lamar Jackson just being injury prone as of late. But I mean, I don't think that should necessarily take away from the Ravens actually giving him the money that he deserves, right? But then you can add incentives with that. It ultimately falls down to how the contract is structured, right? But Ravens would still be a great spot for Lamar Jackson. If the Ravens can somehow still work a deal, it would still be one of the best landing spots for Lamar Jackson, point blank, period. Now, the other team that I would definitely say for sure is the New York Jets. Now, they have some really good guys on the defensive end who are on their rookie deals. Even on the offensive side of the ball, I still think that they need to improve on their offensive line and possibly still get a tight end. But the New York Jets, if they had anybody competent enough at quarterback, this team would have went to the playoffs for sure, right? So if Lamar Jackson were able to go to the New York Jets would certainly be a team to be reckoned with, right? And that's no difference than the division that they're in right now. I mean, they're in a tough division as we speak. Lamar Jackson is in a tough division, playing against the Steelers, Bengals, and Joe Burrow. And then now you got to even consider the Cleveland Browns, because they may or may not get better. Deshaun Watson is going to have a full year with the Cleveland Browns. So we would hopefully like to see Deshaun Watson go back to his former self with this Cleveland Browns offense, right? Steelers are just going to, they're one of those first-class organizations that just seem to stay relevant. Mike Tomlin has still maintained consistency with his win-loss record, right? And Kyle Pitts, right? Not Kyle Pitts, sorry. What's the name of the quarterback for the Steelers? I've got his name. Pickett, right? Kenny Pickett, my fault. So Kenny Pickett, right? So he can essentially come into it, and then George Pickens is a phenomenal wide receiver that I can definitely see doing damage further later on in the future, right? So if he goes to the AFC East, it would definitely be an easier. I wouldn't say equally easy. I wouldn't say easier, but I mean it's pretty much the same as what he's been accustomed to. Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens has just been one of those teams that always been able to compete within their division. So I think him going to the New York Jets would certainly be, somewhat challenging because of Josh Allen in that division. And then the Dolphins are not a team that you can necessarily gloss over. And the New England Patriots are still trying to find their new offensive identity, because my God, but that's a video for another day. So that's it, man. That's my thoughts on it. That's what I think. Ravens they gotta belly up something, man. They gotta put up some type of bread, that's going to convince Lamar Jackson to stay. But yeah, this is the situation, man. Ravens offer Lamar Jackson $133 million guaranteed, and I understand why he wouldn't want to sign that. So it is what it is. We're going to see, we're going to see what comes afterward. But NFL free agency is going to look very, very spicy coming up. So thank you guys for watching Cash Sports / Cash Media. I'm Cash, of course. Like and subscribe to the video. Tap in with you guys later and have a wonderful day. Peace.